On this edition of Skyhawks Scoreboard, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde will give you the rundown on Fort Lewis College athletics. This week we have softball and lacrosse for both men's and women's, all on this edition of Skyhawks Scoreboard.
Thank you for joining us for another edition of Skyhawks Scoreboard, your comprehensive guide for FLC athletics. I'm Trevor Ogborn and apparently Mr. Hyde.
I'm Dr. Jekyll, a.k.a. Anthony Martin.
Women's softball took on Metropolitan State University in a series of 4 games this past weekend, 2 on Friday and 2 on Saturday. Friday night, the Lady Skyhawks split.
Banana split?
No, not that kind of split, Tony. They took 1 loss and won the other against our rival Roadrunners. During Game 1, we did lose 12-2, but our graduating senior, Mindy Thompson, made the 2 runs. She's a .32 batting average altogether, but she's got an impressive .472 batting average for this season.
That's almost 5.
She's under the spell of fairy tale fever, favoriting the show Once Upon a Time.
Once Upon a Time in Mexico?
No, I don't think that one.
You know, that happened to me one time in Mexico, and I don't like to talk about that.
Yeah, let's not talk about that.
Okay.
The Roadrunners made 12 hits and 12 runs were put on the scoreboard. Game 2 was a little bit tighter, with a win of 7-6. All 7 runs were made in the first inning, with the rest of the game MSU playing catch-up. Missy Fendora is a junior and spent most of the game at bat, 4 times at bat actually. She made 1 run, 2 hits, had a great dive for a flyout, and actually ate some grass, which we'll probably see in a moment. But some fun facts about Missy. She is psycho for psychology.
Oh, punny.
And prefers to be taken out to Himalayan Kitchen.
You know what? I prefer to be taken out to Himalayan Kitchen. Why don't you take me there and I'll show you how much I prefer it.
Date for 2. Here you see she dives, eats that grass.
I don't know why she had to eat grass to catch the fly out, but good play.
I mean, maybe she needed a snack after a day of hard playing.
I have heard big protein on that one. So that was a big game. Like you said, 7 runs in the first inning. Some might call it a strategy. I might call it laziness, but Metro State spent the entire game trying to play catch-up.
Yeah, while they weren't able to get any other points for the rest of the innings, they did relatively keep the other team at bay and stayed ahead for the 7-6 win. So definitely a good win, and it split them for Friday night, leaving them hopeful for the rest of the weekend. But I understand you've got a different story to tell.
I do have the highlights for that, and unfortunately I do not have good news on that front. On Saturday afternoon against Metro State University Denver, they defeated the Skyhawks in the first game of a doubleheader. The final score, 8-3. We now kick into the highlights here with Fort Lewis taking a 2-1 lead after the first inning. However, after a 4-run inning by the Roadhawks, the Skyhawks, the Roadrunners, and the Skyhawks added their 3rd run of the game in the bottom of the 3rd to cut the lead down to 5-3.
And now we know what happens when you cross a Skyhawk and a Roadrunner.
And now you know when you transfer from one to the other. I am a cold-blooded Roadhawk, apparently. Anyway, we move back to the highlights with Manny Owens hitting a single to drive home Thomas from third base to make that score 5-3. Metro State, however, added 2 more in the 5th, 1 in the 6th, while holding the Skyhawks scoreless for the remainder of the game. Any comment on that, T-Chain?
I mean, it doesn't sound like great play, but any play is good play if you're out there getting practice and preparing for the next one.
Especially if you're a Roadhawk fan. Owens went 3 for 4 at bat at the plate, as well as Thomas adding 2 hits on 3 at-bats and scoring 2 of the Skyhawks' 3 runs. Kylie Raka pitched the first 5.2 innings, allowing 8 runs on 11 hits. Now, if you're keeping score, that's not very good. Anyway, final score, 8-3. Chalk up a big L for the Skyhawks. And as I mentioned, just not a big game. So we now move until the second game, but before we go back into the second game, we need to talk about that one. She got roughed up.
Yeah.
Kylie Raka got roughed up. 5 innings, 8 earned runs, and 11 hits. Unfortunately, though, as we talked about, it's just too much firepower from Roadrunners, which is interesting because we were able to beat them, split the first 2 games on Friday, but not in the second.
Yeah, they must have had a second wind after realizing that we do have the power to defeat them, and we just weren't able to pick it up afterwards.
Yeah, and even more unfortunately, I'm going to move now into the second game highlight of that Saturday afternoon doubleheader, and it not much more better news.
Sounds like it's along the same theme.
Yeah, we'll kick into those highlights, but the second game was rather uneventful for the Skyhawks. They fell 9-0 in a run-ruled victory in 5 innings.
Now, we don't really make a habit of covering club sports, but the men's lacrosse does deserve more than an honorable mention this weekend. Friday night, they took on the Ore Diggers, who are from Colorado Mines, and slaughtered them with a 10-point win, scoring 14-4. Sophomore James Rott was responsible for winning 10 of the 15 face-offs and recovered 10 grounded balls for Hawk possession, twice as many as any other player that game. Max Siegel got most of the points for the game, 4 goals for a total of 6 points, and he has a total of 14 goals for the season. Now, perhaps most exciting, we had 2 exhibitionists take the field and join us for a little show.
I did hear about that, the 2 streakers. So I have one big question, obviously, Trevor. Was that grass squishy? Was it cold?
Now, I wasn't there, and I certainly wasn't one of the streakers, but it was purportedly a little chilly, and after being chased off the field by one of the referees, it was reported that the streaker was a little bit chilly.
I mean, most of the crowd probably would have been able to tell as he was running, but we digress on that. But that brings up one major point. We all probably know what's going on in the mind of the streaker, huh?
Yeah, I mean, you got to think their big priority is to get on, show the world their stuff, and then get off. So they're thinking, oh, I got to go fast. I can't get tackled by this referee, things like that. But the big thing that we need to kind of think about is what on earth is going through the referee or the person chasing them down's mind? Because there's got to be some major considerations made.
See, that alone takes more strategy than the actual streaker themselves, I believe, in my opinion, because they got to protect themselves. They got to make sure they don't grab anything they don't mean to. So that's why, in my opinion, you go high. You go for the head, maybe the shoulders, but you protect yourself as you're tackling this vigilante.
Certainly.
So did they hit you in the head or the shoulders, or what happened there?
I don't know where these accusations are coming from. I guess I don't know. I fit the MO. They were tall and skinny, supposedly. But as they dashed in front of the net, apparently that's when they started getting chased. The miracle for their standpoint is that they didn't get knocked out by one of these lacrosse players beforehand, because it cannot be flattering being naked and unconscious on one of these fields.
I mean, amazingly, that was during the middle of the game as well. It wasn't even halftime or anything. It was right in the middle. So lucky to them. I'm glad you made it safe and you're back here with us, Trevor.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to stick with lacrosse, but we're going to go a little bit different direction here on this one. We're going to go to women's, which was a big game on Saturday for them. So nearly blowing a 7-goal lead at halftime. 9-2 was the score at halftime for the Fort Lewis College women's team. As we see here, they came out like gangbusters. They had they did stop a halftime surge by Colorado Mesa University, and they did win the home opener 12-10 on Saturday afternoon. The Skyhawks were outscored in the second half 8-3, including 5 straight goals by CMU. Now, you were at this game. Tell me all about it.
So it definitely was a nail-biter, Anthony. It looked like the Lady Skyhawks were in the lead and had the game for good. But as the second half started to progress, the opponent started racking up the scores and catching up very slowly. And so by the end of the game, it started really looking like they were in trouble. Fortunately, though, you've got some good news to report here.
Yeah, well, as it went on, going into the second half, playing one up, CMU started the second half with a goal 65 seconds into the half. FLC answered with a goal at the 24:51 mark. However, the Mavericks then went on their roll. They scored 5 goals in 6 minutes to notch their 10th goal in the game with 1:21 remaining. This is when it got real close. But 1 goal by the Skyhawks bumped it up to 11-10 was the final score. Now, Trevor, was this as much of a nail-biter as I'm claiming it to be?
I mean, you told the story just there. That's exactly what it looked like, and it really made for a difficult game to watch because for a little bit, we were in trouble.
Yeah, but some of the big stats, Carpenter dished the ball to McMahon 5 yards in front of the goal for the game-sealing victory goal, 12-10 Skyhawks victory. and it was a close one. So they edged CMU in ground balls 9-5, but CMU held a 26-25 shot advantage. This was actually the goal right here, and you can just tell the disappointment in Colorado Mesa's eyes as they know that they came that close to pulling off a major upset. So now we move into the men's game where I have even better news to report on. So big game for the women's, but now we move into the men's game. Moving on, so the Fort Lewis College men's lacrosse team was held at home on Saturday afternoon against UNC. Do not get that confused with Northern Carolina. That is Northern Colorado University. And the game was a bit testy, to say the least.
So you're saying it was as risque as the nude runners showcasing themselves on the field?
Trevor, that would be testy, not testes.
My mistake. Okay.
I see where your head's at on that one, though. Anyway, I digress. Big game. And as I've been told by the fans and the spectators there, this was a hard-hitting game for both teams. Back and forth they went, and the refs just let them play it out. So you got to give them credit on that one. However, UNC was just that good to lose because they fell. 12-11 was the final score for the Skyhawks. Max Siegel and Connor Hendricks combined for 5 goals and 11 points. This game had it all: intense close-ups, nasty layouts, and a final victory for the men's team. And so big victory for their next game will be on Saturday, April 11th against Metro State at Ray Dennison Memorial Field at 4 p.m. There you can see it. One more attack and big victory. Like I said, UNC just this close to losing, or actually to pulling out a victory. They actually did lose. 12-11 was the final score there, and you know, I'm happy for the men. That was a good way to end off the weekend after some tough losses for the rest of the time.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, overall for the weekend, we had some losses, we had some wins. Overall, we've got some great takeaways, though, and we saw some great gameplay. So definitely excited about how it went this weekend, and definitely excited to see how it goes this next upcoming weekend and as the future and the season continues.
You know, big wins for a lot of games and some tough losses, but I'm still excited to see them next week. Are you planning to go in your same birthday suit next week?
I don't know where you keep getting these
the allegations continue, folks.
But I am planning on being there. Birthday suit, no. I will be fully dressed. I will not be streaking. I will not be joining the trend.
You're going to break a lot of hearts out there, not showing the goods. Okay. Anyway, I digress. This has been another edition of Skyhawks Scoreboard, and thank you once again for tuning in. We're going to try to do our best even next time. So, until next time, I'm Anthony Martin.
And my bow tie used to be a barn.
And until next time, we will see you in the stands.